Hola, mi nombre es Zeno Rocha y hoy vamos a hablar sobre o que hay de nuevo en la comunidad de Liferay. And that's all the Spanish I got for you today, okay? Yeah, so the idea is to just talk more about what's going on in the community, in the product, what we're doing to improve Liferay portal and everything around it. And I don't know if you ever paid attention to our logo. But if you take a look closely, you'll see those those three more important things about Liferay in the logo itself. And it's about enterprise, it's about open source, and for life. So what we're trying to say over here, you know, like what being open source means, you know. Like what enterprise means, because it's clear. What being open source, some people think it's just the code, but it's much more than that. And for life means we're not here just for the next year or the next 2 years. We're here for the next 10, 20 years. And I think there's like this trend, you know, lots of people saying, I don't know, like how many of you like have an account on GitHub? Just raise your hand. Let me just see it. Nice. So I don't know how you feel about it, but like the whole market, they are always trying to tell you that you need to open your code. And there's articles about like everything should be open, like everything. There are books about open source. There are books about the open source manifesto and how everything should be open source. And there's companies that we thought will never be open source, like Apple. Like 3 weeks ago, Apple released their iOS and macOS kernel open source, and that was like a surprise for everybody. Like, there's no other company in the world that is so secret and closed as Apple, and now they're releasing things open source. Swift is another example. So there's all those things, you know, everybody telling that you should open source everything, and there are people saying, okay, you developers, GitHub is now your resume. And people get crazy about it. Like, there are tools that you put your GitHub account and it generates a resume. And there are people like John Resig, which is a super influential person on this development world. He's the creator of jQuery. And he said, when it comes to hiring, I would take a GitHub commit log over a resume any day. Because over there, you can see exactly what that person is doing. It's not like just blah, blah, blah. You can actually see what they're building for real. And then what happens? When you see something like this, well, you probably go to home and then you think, okay, I'm gonna create a new open source project because open source is amazing. And you go there and you work like there's no tomorrow. You just like keep working, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the best project in the world. And you think, okay, I'm ready to launch. And the expectation is that everybody will love it. It's gonna be a success, you're gonna be famous, and this project will help everybody. And the reality is much different. The reality is that maybe nobody will care. And that's really tough, that's difficult. So like people think that open source is only GitHub, it's only putting things online, just open source. That's not the case. Open source is not about GitHub, it's not only about code, for sure. Open source is more like a lifestyle. It's being transparent about the things that you're doing and realizing that, hey, like there are small things on my day-to-day work that I can share to other people and that can help other people. I guess like in the past, we were always like super secretive about, okay, if I share what I'm doing at my company, my competitor will see it and will steal it. And that's not the case anymore. Like the technology piece is not what's going to differentiate everything, and like that small library that you're open sourcing, it's not going to change much. And I was like looking about, okay, but how Liferay fits in this open source world. This is like the first commit that was made by Brian Chen when he moved from SVN to Git in 2006. So open source is not a new thing for us. We have over 800,000 commits across 400 repos. It's just like insane. We do a lot of code and we make that open for everybody. Liferay portal, the community edition, has been downloaded more than 5 million times. It's just insane. It's a huge number. And Liferay is open source not because it's trendy, not because now, oh, Apple is doing things open source, we should do as well. No, we believe in open source since day one. So that's the reality. It's not something that we think it's just a trend that it's coming and it's going to pass by. Like, if you think about a company, and if you think about all these departments that are inside a company, we believe that the community is like a vital part. So if Liferay as a company is like a car, and you have all these pieces that needs to work together, and if one piece fails, everything will go down, your car will not turn on, you're not going to be able to ride it, well, you need to take care of every single piece individually. And that's how we see the community. It's not like this other thing. It's actually a very essential part. And I don't need to explain to you why the community is so important. You're all like very smart people, and you know that it's important to have a healthy community, because if you are a partner and then you want to hire people that knows Liferay, if there's like a big community around Liferay, oh, that's nice, because then you can go and it's easier to hire someone. If you're doing a project with a client, it's going to be easier to find people. Or if we're doing an event, and it's nice to see like this full room, because you know there are people interested in Liferay. So we're doing several things to facilitate this community and make it even better than it already is. And the first one is a new community site. So we have lots of open source projects. People, when they say Liferay, usually they refer to Liferay portal or Liferay GXP, but we have more projects. And we have a UI, Liferay mobile SDK, Liferay Faces, Sena, Metal. Like, we have this whole list of projects. And we decided to like aggregate all of them in one place where you can discover those projects. So we created this new website. Now we have a list of all the projects. You can filter them. What are libraries? What are mobile projects? What are projects in the cloud? And now you can see every single one of them and actually understand what that project is about. You can go and read about it, like what this project does, who's behind it, what are the most important links that I need to have in order to understand the project. Where can I install it? Where can I file issues? Where can I contribute? It's all there. And you can go community.liferay.com. It's a project that we launched this year, and it's a very big thing for us. We also thought about standardizing all those sites, because for every single project, we usually create a site to promote that project and just like help the whole community. So we have like the different websites for each one. And they all look different for a reason, because we want to have like separate brandings and help like each one individually with their unique characteristics. But we realize that there are common things when we're doing a project. This is like the documentation of WeDeploy. And we noticed there are several patterns that we could reuse across other sites, like having our code with syntax highlight, switching between codes and copy and pasting, and always a place where people can tell, okay, is this documentation good or bad? And people can change the documentation as a markdown file on GitHub. You can also have like autocomplete when you're searching. So all those like mostly UI things and UX things, but they help a lot. And we are standardizing that. So we're taking all those things that we learned and putting in other projects. Like, this is the new website for Metal.js. We also released like several weeks ago the new website for Alloy Editor. We released this year as well. And they have all those new things that we are working on and improving. And that's like we created one project that could standardize. That's Electric. That's how we call it. So we're just like trying to improve the whole experience. And we also want to provide more documentation. We believe this is very important. there was a survey this year from this group of people that they interviewed tons of developers. And developers were talking about, okay, what are the problems they find the most when they are working with open source. And mostly all of them told that confusing documentation is the main one. Unresponsiveness, when you want to talk to the maintainers and they just ignore you. Or dismissive responses, because you can reply, but if you reply with not enough information, it's bad. Conflict with maintainers, and just lots of things. And we realized, okay, documentation is really important. We always need to focus on that. And there are several different kinds of documentations. The easiest one is when you go and you want to read what is the most basic things about a project. So this is like the Vulkan, for example, and it explains, okay, what is Vulkan, why we're creating this, why this is going to help you. Not how and not just what it is, but why. We are always doing API docs. So if you are from the Java world, Java docs. If you're from other languages, you have similar things where you can see, okay, what exactly this method is doing, what exactly should I pass. We have developer guides. So on dev.liferay.com, we have documentations that can help you understand what's each feature. More than that, we have learning paths. So there are common situations where, and common things that you need to do, and those things take several steps. And the documentation is usually a place where you go and you want to try to find something, so it's a very generic place. But learning paths is a thing where you can follow step by step a very common use case. For example, how you go from Liferay 6 to Liferay 7, and then explains what are the steps necessary to do that. And also video tutorials, it's something we are investing. We just want to improve the whole experience, and videos help. It's something that you can see how things are working, and based on that, you can do something else. So this is what people tell the most about documentation. Documentation is highly valued, it's frequently overlooked, and that's for everything, every project they frequently overlook. And it's a means for a much more inclusive community and accessible community. We're also investing in informing you guys as much as we can. So on this new community site, you have a section about all the news from across all the projects. You can access it on mobile and everything. So it's a good thing, you can see what's going on. If you're more like a Twitter person, we have several Twitter accounts. The Liferay account, the main one, is this global account where we always talk about everything that we do, including business news. But if you're more like a techie person, you can go to the Liferay engineering account. If you care more about docs and you want to be up to date with what's new docs that we are creating all the time, you can go to the Liferay docs. We're also introducing new communication channels. How many of you have accessed the forums sometime in your life? Raise your hand real quick. Yeah, so the forums is a really nice place just to understand, get answers and ask questions. And it's a very nice place. As a complement to that channel, we're also introducing a Slack channel. It's something that everybody nowadays wants to have more instant questions and answers than ever before. So we need a place where you can get that rapid feedback going. And the chat is not a replacement of the forums. I just want to make that very clear. It's just more like a place where you can have direct conversations, and but it's always nice to post your questions on the forum so other people can see it. And we were looking at the statistics of the chat, and we realized, because our goal with the chat was always how can you communicate between yourselves, and not only us communicating to the committee or something like that, but how we can create relationships. If there's someone, if you're here in Madrid and you know somebody that works with Liferay and you just want to talk about problems you guys have, what are you struggling today? So we want a place that you can do that, and we noticed that 60% of all the messages that are sent in the last 30 days were direct messages. So we believe that this is a good place to like create those relationships. So you can go there, like there are more than 500 people signed up on the chat, and you can access it. Here's the URL if you're interested, community-chat.liferay.com. What about metrics? We don't want to be like passive about things that are happening. We want to be proactively making changes and improving things. Not just like waiting for something to blow up and then like, okay, now we do something about it. No, we want to be proactive. And there are questions that we always ask ourselves, like who are the top committers? Who's participating the most in the community? What are the groups that are most active in the world? Or how much time a pull request is taken to be merged? If it's like 1 hour or 1 week, what's going on? How we can decrease that number and have faster feedbacks? Because when you're contributing, you want to have a seamless experience. So we created this dashboard using Bitergia. They gave a talk yesterday about it. And now we can see what's going on across everything, across Git, across GitHub, across meetup.com, across Slack. So all those channels that people go and they talk, we're consolidating that data so we can track what exactly is going on and we can take actions to just improve things and make it better. And that's how we get like, okay, who, like for the Pulse Awards, where we talk about, okay, who's the individuals that are most active, you know, and we have like Juan Gonzalez, who is from here, and like one of the most active people in the community in the whole world. You know, so you have like a very privileged community because there's so many people that are passionate about Liferay here. And same with partners, you know, we have partners all around the world and some partners that really contribute and we want to recognize what's being done. And if you are curious, you want to see some stats, you can check it out, community-dashboard.liferay.com. But let's talk about the product itself, Liferay Portal. One thing we released recently is we returned with ext plugins. It's something that for the next major version, we don't want to have it, but we realized that migrating and getting rid of that is not a process that we should do like overnight. We need to give time to people to migrate things and do things in the new way, but we recognize that it's better to have that process not to be overnight. We also, clustering is back. This is something that, again, another decision we took last year, and it was like really painful for a lot of people. There were a lot of good reasons why we had to remove clustering from the community edition, but we decided that it was not like the best way to do it. So we are bringing clustering back in a different way, and now you can use it with the community edition. Besides that, we want to make the release cycle better. If you think about almost anything in the world nowadays, and especially when you're talking about community, especially when you're talking about people, we can't just like do something and then 10 months from now we do some other thing, and then we stay quiet for 6 months and then we do another thing. If we want to have a vibrant environment, we need to be constantly doing something. So otherwise it will feel like we're dead. So, and that's how like we need to release more often. That's something we want to do. We just released Portal CE GA5. So this is one of I guess it was like last week or maybe this week even. So you can go there and check all the new features, all the things that are back. And we want to make the releases more often. It's something that we want to be able to release quarterly instead of from 6 months to 6 months or even like bigger than that, the gap between versions. So we want to keep releasing, so when it's the time to upgrade, it's not like that painful process that you need to go and waste a lot of time, because if you keep updating with small versions and small iterations, it's just everything is more smooth. So that's the idea. About bug reporting, we also want to be more proactive about it. So we have like this whole dashboard where we can see how many issues are being opened, what are the issues that are being opened from community members, so we can prioritize them. So we can say like, this person, like they spend their free time, their weekends, where they could be with their family, and they decided to just go and do this instead. So we need to recognize those things and prioritize those things. Also, code contributions, how we can make that better, that faster, and everything. One thing that you probably heard many times yesterday, and you're going to hear today, is about how we care about modularity. You know, it's something that affects drastically how you can improve and just use the product. So we went there and we broke down our components. And now if you go, like you're going to see that we have like 97 different components. And that could be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but when it comes to contributing, it's so much easier because now you don't have to go and like there's this like huge thing that if you change something, it's going to affect the whole application. It's going to break in other pieces and you don't know exactly what you're doing. Now with like a smaller scope, you can make changes and improve things much better. The improvement cycle, and it's much faster. And we also released a new contribution guide where you can just go there and understand, okay, what are the steps that I need to take in order to contribute? What should I do? How can I do it? Just like an easier guide for you to understand how you can do things. And also special programs. I don't know if you guys ever heard about like the community expedition that we did, or the community verifier. So those are programs that we put together in order to just like foment the community and say, hey, like we have a new version. Let's say we released a new version of Liferay. And instead of like waiting few months until we release the final version and here it is, and you don't know, okay, what's new in this version? And like there's this huge list of changes. What if you could have access to the beta versions and the alpha versions? And you could understand, okay, what's coming next on Liferay? How can I benefit from these new features? How can I prepare myself, my company, my team to just see those changes and say, hey, this is what's coming next. We know it's going to change, or we know this new feature that will going to affect us. What if we just go there and see it and use it for the first time? And you can influence the product. So those programs are nice because you can just get in touch with what's being developed and understand and drive the direction of the project. I guess that's one of the most exciting things about any open source product, because you can actually change what's being developed. It's not something that you're just like waiting for like some big company to do something and then it affects you in a bad way or in a good way, but you never know, and you don't have control over that. So this is something that is really attractive. What about user groups? We are going around like the world and understanding all the groups that we have. There was a point in time where we had like 44 user groups across the globe. And each group is like this small cell of people that they just want to share their experiences and the things that they are working on. And we are trying to come up with like a better way of managing those groups and helping those groups to be successful. So what we want to have is in a local place, in a local community, where you know there are so many people that are good, and you want to find other people that works with the same thing that you do, you know, that speaks the same language that you speak. So you can go on this new community site and you can find all the user groups that we have. And then you can look there and see, oh, there's a group in Tokyo. There's a group in Benelux. Oh, there's a group in Madrid. So you can go there and see, okay, that's nice. And you can join this group. And that's very nice. You can go there and you can see what are all the members, when are the next meetups going to happen, and where it's going to be the next meetup. And you can go there and like talk to other people and participate. And there are many ways you can participate in a user group. You can go to this new Slack channel and scan through all the channels that we have about every single project and every single piece of the product, and you can see the Spanish one, and you can go there and you can communicate with other people that speak Spanish. And if you have a question and you're like, oh, how can I do this? Or, man, I'm trying to hire someone. Do you guys know anybody that works with Liferay? You know, it's a place where you can connect instantly and get answers. And you can also talk in person. You can meet in person, you know. Yesterday, after the event, we got everybody together, and it was such a special moment because I don't know how you guys feel, but I love this phrase because it talks about personal contact and personal experiences, and how those experiences, they are the richest experiences possible, and they are not matched by any technology. It's nice that you can talk to other people online, and it's nice that we have all these new different channels nowadays. You can connect through social media, you can connect through forums or chats. Those are very nice, those are important. But when we are together, when we are drinking some cervezas, you know, it's the best part, you know, and we can actually connect and share experiences. And you can go there, meetup.com/Liferay-Spain-user group, and you can sign up and be part of that group as well. It's something that we are really, really excited to do. And I just wanted to talk about that because community is such a difficult topic, and there's so much things involved. But we often, sometimes we think oh yeah, community is that group of people, that other group of people that I'm not part of. But in the end, this is everything. This is we are together in this. And I love this phrase because it talks about how if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. We want to go far, and we want to go with you. So, muchas gracias. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a great day today. Okay. And before I leave, I'm just going to leave you with one video, and then I'm out, okay? Thank you.
What kind of question is that?
Oops.
What kind of question is that? It's a non-question.
When I discovered open source, everything changed.
I mean, I live my life in an open source world. Developing software in the open, knowing that anyone can see your code and make comments, and that they actually do, I believe that it takes the developers to the next level.
Even if we are working in different continents, it feels like there's no distance at all.
For me, it's like a novel. You have a lot of energy involved, you have a lot of relationships, fights, but the achievement is always good because you share code, you share knowledge, and this helps the success of your project.
I mean, anytime I want to learn something new, open source actually makes that available to you. You get to see when people do things really well, and also when they don't.
And all this transparency, this open spirit, I really like, I really enjoyed.
The advantage of allowing people to kind of look through the guts of what you wrote and risk a little bit of embarrassment is totally out. The bad parts of that are really outweighed by just the collective knowledge you can draw on.
Open source, especially when you contribute, when you participate in an open source project, it always gives you much more than you give into it.
When things are open and there's transparency, there's lots of people who can review it and see it, right? And then there's also the added benefit of contributors and so forth.
You don't really have to be a superhero to go and save the world, but you can do those tiny little things to make it a better place.
Also by contributing, you put yourself out there, and then you give other people the opportunity to help you grow.
The biggest thing that I remember was this sense of you felt like you were a part of something bigger.
It just changes the way we operate as a company.
I often tell my wife and my kids I'm going to work to play on computers all day long. And I feel that it's true. I feel that it's definitely true. Though there are struggles and tough times, but in general, I feel like I'm having fun.
We are feeling part of the people that are using that project. I mean, when I talk with people that I worked in the past and they are using Liferay, say, hey, I did this part, and I'm part of your project also.
A lot of the really great ideas came from the community. So I think it's just an overall encouraging thing, and it really reflects the company culture in itself of, that everyone's willing to help, willing to work and just get stuff done.
I believe in the open source process. I think it's the best development process, and it actually helps people.